All right, man. Today I want to talk about the leading cause of divorce that nobody else is talking about. And all of you, every single man here is at risk to this taking out their marriage. And I know you're thinking, what? And we're not talking affairs, we're not talking money problems, we're talking perimenopause. So the reality is, it's ignored by the medical community. It has significant impact on both your wife and your relationship. So when you think of perimenopause or menopause, because most people know about menopause, don't realize about perimenopause, which could last up to 9 years before menopause. So let's talk about the biggies. You hear of hot flashes, joint pain, and anxiety. Okay? So let's go over some other symptoms of perimenopause. Brain fog. Some women struggle so much with perimenopause they can't even work effectively anymore. Belly fat without a change in diet or exercise routine. So she's still working out, she's eating the same, and suddenly there's belly fat and her clothes aren't fitting right. And when it comes to sex, when it does happen, there's pain with penetration. Okay. Insulin resistance, which ties into brain fog, which ties into belly fat, depression, and here's the one most people would be stunned: frozen shoulder. It has been documented that perimenopause sometimes causes frozen shoulder in women. They're not sure why, but there's one thing that causes all of this, and this is the changing of your wife's hormones. Now, if you've seen some of my older videos, you've heard me talk about men being the container for the feminine and the riverbanks being the structure to support your partner, the feminine, and it's much like water in many ways because sometimes it's storming, sometimes it's smooth. And the reality is she needs this even more now. So there's a couple of challenges associated with this. And perimenopause can lead to you hearing, I don't know who I am anymore. I love you, but I'm not in love with you. I hate the way you chew. Stuff like that. And she doesn't even know what's going on. And the dirty little secret nobody talks about, the medical community doesn't give a damn about them as a rule, because they can't prescribe a single drug for the 100 symptoms that can go on with perimenopause. So what they do is they ignore it because they can't monetize it, okay? So then we have a secondary problem. You've heard me talk about 80% of therapists are crap. 90+% of general practitioners and even OBGYN doctors are crap when it comes to women's health issues related to perimenopause and menopause, even though every woman's going to go through it. Now, do some women go through it and it's like that and it's no big deal? Yes. Hey, babe, is it easy like that? No big deal?
No.
So what happens, and here's the thing, because I've had men go, well, suddenly she's selfish, she's doing this, and blah, blah, blah. It's because, I'm going to simplify it, the estrogen that she has lived with for her whole life after puberty is tanking. Okay? And estrogen is the hormone that makes a woman nurture. Yeah, I was going to say loving and kind, but nurture, care, and everything else. And so when that bottoms out, especially if the kids are leaving the house or teenagers, because hell, who doesn't want to smack a teenager occasionally, right? But they don't put up with that crap. They're much shorter with you. And there is a solution, and it is hormone replacement therapy. Now, I'm not saying she's got to do this to get her jovial mood back. No. Actually, the lack of estrogen, because there are estrogen receptors in every single cell of her body. And if she doesn't do hormone replacement therapy, she's actually at higher risk for cardiac events, significantly. And so there's a health protective aspect to estrogen and hormone replacement therapy besides all the other issues. When we talked about, I just gave you a list of a couple of the symptoms. I could read off a 2-column list that goes an entire page, and some of them you go, huh, burning mouth. Yeah. And here's what women experience. They go to the doctor, I'm having these aches. They check, nope, sorry, you don't have arthritis. We don't know what's wrong with you. Okay. They go to the doctor, I'm anxious. Oh, or you're depressed. Well, let's give you pills. But it isn't depression and it isn't anxiety. It's you are at that time maybe anxious or depressed, but it's because of hormone issues, not because of a clinical depression, serotonin. And so what's happening is women often go to 3, 4, 5 specialists for all these problems and aren't helped. They're given drugs that aren't going to solve the solution because that's all today's medical society does is we prescribe stuff. We don't cure stuff. Nobody asks the questions. And there are even doctors out there now who don't believe perimenopause exists. And if your wife ever runs across a provider who says, oh, that's not a real thing, she needs to change doctors right away. Okay? Because that doctor is clueless, as are many of them. So, this is actually one of the leading causes of divorces. When you start looking, when do the divorces really spike? In the 40s and 50s. It's not just because the kids are older, but if they go through perimenopause, now they don't give a shit about anything. And they're miserable because they don't know what's wrong. They feel like hell. Nobody's helping them. Nobody talks about this, and they were never educated about this. Does it sound familiar? And so if you think as the husband, you don't need to educate yourself on perimenopause and menopause and be a supportive partner. So Melanie is working with a specialist. She has a new primary care provider who specializes in menopause, perimenopause, hormonal treatments. And it's still a little bit of mad scientist. We're trying this out and we're going to see how this goes and we may have to adjust things. Because every woman's going to have a different response to the hormones and everything else. And let me tell you, if you are standoffish, not supportive, and therefore your risk of divorce goes through the roof. Because at a certain point she's going to be, why the hell do I need him around? He's not helping me at all. Okay? Now, if you're a supportive partner and you are understanding and patient, and you're there for her, it makes a world of difference. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to increase the risk of divorce, or do you want to, because this is part of, every marriage goes through the disillusionment stage, and I think what happens a lot of times, nobody thought about it or looked at it before, perimenopause amplifies all of this. And hormone therapy can mute that negative aspect, can help her feel like herself again, because she doesn't feel like herself. She doesn't know who she is the type of comments we hear. And by doing that, if you can get through the disillusionment stage, the best part of marriage is after that. Okay? So if you're struggling in your relationship, you want to talk about it, there's contact information down below. Shoot me an email. Let's talk. All right? And we'll see you in the next video.